NHL draft's going on right now. First, before we get into that, why don't you tell us what the neutral zone is? Quickly, what you guys do, when was it started, and how's these couple days gone for your team?
So neutral zone it's a scouting service. You can have NHL teams, major junior college, USHL teams, prep schools, all the way down to individual subscribers. We more or less patterned it off of rivals with football. So you get the 5-star kid that was going to Georgia, or the, quarterback who's going to Tennessee, or whatever it may be. We started doing with hockey. So this year I run the NHL draft for them. And the 02 birth year, we have 4 years of notes on these kids. So we have the trajectory, we have the background of where they've been, where they've come from. U14, it seems like it's really young, but our clients would be a prep school. They're looking for kids that are coming in and want to know, would they go to a boarding school? Would they go to Shattuck? Would they want to go to Mount St. Charles now? That kind of thing. Would they look at Slex Academy? And then from there, we'd have all the levels of juniors where you could have USHL, the NUL, EHL. So you have tier 1, 2, 3, NCDC to a certain extent. And then we get major junior in the colleges. And we have a lot of Division 1, most of Division 3s because they don't have the resources. And then obviously we have the individual subscribers. So we don't just watch and try to pick out the studs. We're trying to add value to the Division 3 kids, to the kids that are playing mass high school hockey, or, maybe a kid who goes to a tournament and absolutely rips it up. So it's a little bit different than rivals, where we would go down where we'd have, what we figured out is a 5-star would be like Jack Hughes from last year's draft. And a 2.5-star would be a kid who's kind of hanging on and maybe play club in college. But we have
my mind's in a pretzel right now. My mind's in a fucking pretzel. I don't know how you even remember to explain all that.
You'd be at 3.75. You'd be a Division 1 kid, might have to pay some money, but you'd be able to play. You'd contribute and definitely be in the locker room.
I'll take it. What was Witt?
Well, Witt was a stud. Witt would be a 4.75.
Fuck off.
Thank you, Biz.
What's he getting, a 5? You're giving him a 5.
No, 4.75. He said a full point above you.
But he would have been a 4.75. He was big, moved well, great first touch, contributed offensively. He was going to improve his game defensively as he turned pro. He was going to play for Parker at BU. He's a kid we would have watched. We would have watched a lot. We would have known a ton about him. Didn't know a ton about him, but yeah, he'd have been a 4.75 for sure.
Would you have known he got kicked out of his billet house? Would you have known he would have?
They would have liked that. I had some jam.
I actually, my background and all that kind of stuff, I have a pretty good idea what's going on with these kids and where they are. When they get in trouble, they feel like I can be a good resource for them.
You got you're like stalking them. Well, you're like finding out what their groceries are.
Yeah, I know. I'm very aware of what they do, but I don't really want any of the kids to get in trouble. I took care of that for them. I just want them to, if they do get in trouble, I can be a resource for them and tell them how to get their feet back under them and get headed in the right direction. Just that kind of stuff. But as far as where the stars would be, Witt would have been a 4.75. You would have been a 3.75.
He would have been a 5 if he didn't have that fucking sail on the side of his face slowing him down out there. That's probably what messed up his ankles. He was just like fighting against the wind.
I don't want to argue with you.
I knew he had foot problems before he was turning pro, so I knew there was going to be something going on with it. But it definitely.
We're just. I was just going to say, we're just messing around because of kind of how silly the whole draft was and all these, funky little storylines. But as far as this year's draft, like, what do you know about some of these guys that there weren't a lot of background on? Like, let's talk about maybe the 15th pick, I believe it was, for Columbus. Came out of absolutely nowhere.
Nobody knew anything.
Nothing about him. I can tell you that he started playing in the KHL right now. He's an 01 and playing, and he's got 5 goals in 12 games. So I don't think if there's not the delay over here, I don't think he's a first rounder, but I know that Kekalainen does a hell of a job with Columbus, so they knew what they were doing. My comment on him last night when that went through is he had NHL hair right now. He looked confident in his profile picture, and he had show flow. So there's a reason why he was a first rounder.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been horrified if it was like a greasy look.
They're like, wait a minute, he doesn't wear Abercrombie tracksuits to the rink? No. Guys, I think if we're going to jump.
Straight Prada. He's all Prada.
He's right. Like Malkin, right to the Louis Vuitton.
Yep. Yeah,
before we even get into the unknown guys, like Lafreniere, like, are you talking about a guy that for 4 or 5 years has been the 5-star dude? I mean, in a sense, like, who can you compare him to in the NHL?
Well, Lafreniere is big. He's every year he's added something to his game. He came in, scored a ton of goals his first year playing the Q. Then he was an assist guy. This year he was more physical. Last year he would have been in the debate to be a top couple in last year's draft. He's a late 01, so he would fall in line with those guys. But to me, there was really no doubt that he was going to be the first overall this year. He was MVP of the World Juniors, and he missed games with injuries. He led the tournament in scoring. He's a kid who's going to go into New York, and he's going to have a blast. He's going to do great. He's a big kid. He's French. He's a good-looking kid. He is exactly what the Rangers are looking for.
When you said he got physical, so would you compare him more to McKinnon than, let's say, a Crosby? What's his style of
yeah,
he's got all
more
the
like
tools.
That. He definitely he's elusive and he can make guys miss one-on-one, but he's a bigger kid than Crosby. He's stronger. I don't think he has Crosby's brain. Not many do. But as far as his type of play and what he can do, he's not afraid to go to the net. He's not afraid to bang. If a guy cuts across the middle and has got his head down, he's going to hit him. He's not going to look away. He's not going to try to steal the puck. He's going to send a message. He's had guys for multiple years in major junior trying to go after him, and he stands up for himself. He's not a fighter, but he's not afraid by any stretch. He's to me, he was the number one pick all along, and he has been for multiple years. So
awesome.
All right. What about the German that went third? And I don't want to skip over Byfield. We talked about him quickly, but that German, I mean, I know everyone's kind of talked about him for a long time now, but what type of player is he? And were you surprised he didn't go second? Because all the mock drafts I had kind of had him there.
See, I had him going later. So I don't know. Did you guys ever go over and play in the DEL?
I never did.
All right, so I did for part of a year. I was in Berlin. There were 3 German kids that ended up going in the first couple rounds. Stutzel is the one. He went third overall. I thought he was going to drop to about 10. I know he's an 18-year-old playing against men and all that, but I think about myself when I went and played in the DEL. I wasn't the most physically fit kid. I was having hydration issues, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure that some of the pros that he's playing against aren't taking it the same as they did when they were in the American League trying to get to the NHL or as NHL guys. I think
it's a glorified beer league is what you're saying.
Well, it's more than that, but it's there's definitely you're in Germany. It's great beer. I mean, I was drinking Crystal Weissen with lemons on top, and it was glorious. So it was good stuff, and not taking anything away from him, but he was playing against guys that had been in the NHL or had been in the American League, and I don't think they were training as hard as they had been if they were still over here doing it. And I don't think that's good, bad, or indifferent. I think that's just fact. And I think there's other kids that are playing in the OHL or the Western League that are competing against kids that are playing their balls off every night and trying to get out there and trying to earn a deal and earn a contract and earn a draft pick. And I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play in the NHL, but I wouldn't have been shocked. I had him later than that. I had him at 10, but I think he's going to play. It was more that I think the DEL isn't what they were making it out to to
Yeah, you could argue. I know what you're saying. You can argue you're playing against men, but
there.
it's not the KHL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Press said it was officiated weird, and it was just like a weird style of hockey.
It is. There's if you hit too hard, you get a penalty. Any contact to the head was a 5. They played a style. At least we played a style. Pierre Paget was our coach. You remember Darren Quint? Remember
Yep.
Quinter? So Quinter was basically if you played left D, you could play the entire game because you never did anything other than go back and retrieve a dump, and then you went to
sign me up.
Basically, yeah, pretty much. Basically, center
comeback
ice
starts now
in the offensive zone, and it was the center, the left wing could pinch from the goal line all the way goal line to goal line, and the right D went goal line to goal line on the other side, and the left D just hung out and played in the middle. So it was the Swedes would play this torpedo type forecheck, and what we were doing there and everyone in DL was doing was the left D just hung out. And Quinter, as far as I know, he could still be playing over there. I mean, he barely break a sweat. He'd give these great passes, use his little tiny stick, but it's just a little bit different. There's definitely not as physical. It's not as clutch and grab. It's not as grinding, and not taking anything away from those kids. I just think it's a little bit different.
Who was a guy that maybe you're going to look at as, wow, I can't believe they got him that late in the first round, a team that's got to be thrilled getting a guy maybe way later than they had him ranked?
I'm going to go with the Russian goalie, Askarov. He's a kid that he could easily have been a top 3. He has a chance to be special. He started out KHL. I think he had a shutout in a 1-goal game right away. He played in a couple international tournaments, has been unbelievable, but he's a kid that people might look in a couple of years and say, how the hell wasn't this kid in the top couple?
What's happening in Russia that all these kids are coming out now? There's been like a crazy wave of dominant young Russian goaltenders.
I have no idea. I think that the money in the KHL, maybe it's keeping kids around longer and there's more motivation to stay and play. They know they don't have to come to the States or North America to do it. But, there's a ton of kids. There's also another Russian kid named Amarov who Toronto took, who's a skill kid. He could be somebody like Kucherov. He's a little lefty kid. He's strong on the puck. He's somebody that you guys will know exactly what I mean when you'd have a draft pick and you'd see a kid that was a first rounder. You get your first day of training camp and you think, oh, this kid's dead in the water. He doesn't have a chance. But then you'd see a kid who might have been a second or a third rounder, and you do the drills and all of a sudden he's handling passes that are crappy and he's got it smooth and there's no issue with it. And Amarov's like that. He's a Russian kid. He's got a really quick release. He can protect the puck forever, and he's only about 165 pounds. And the Leafs got him in the first round. So he's a kid that also could be questioned why wasn't he up higher.
Oh, my God. The Leafs fans listening to this right now are going to be stroking themselves off.
So the Leafs also went on a run of Finns. Like they went with
second round, right? Or third round maybe.
Second round, and then I think they've got 4 or 5 Finns overall who are, I think the Finns, they play in a hybrid sheet. It's not as big as an Olympic size. It's not as small as NHL, so there's a little more grinding. But I'm not sure who Toronto's Finnish scout is or who head European scout is, but he's got to be a hell of a salesman, because I think when I walked out of the room and there were still a couple picks left, I think that Toronto had taken 4 or 5 Finns. They're all, what the Finns are like. They're going to be hard to play against. They protect the puck well. They might not be huge, but they've got good skills, good feet, and that's kind of what Toronto's got right now in their picks.
Are you saying for the hybrid ice, as far as like they're just able to adapt to the North American game better? Like, I think they can, because I think there's more grinding. Like everywhere else in Europe, they're playing the Olympic sheet. It's just a bigger sheet. There's I forget in Sweden if it's Skellefteå or Örebro, where it's like a football field. It was just so damn big, it was unbelievable. But in Finland, it's in between. It's not as big as Olympic and not as small as NHL. So there's a little bit more creativity. But you get the kids like Saku Koivu, who was in our age group that was playing. He's a 5'9" kid who was quick as hell, protect the puck because he's used to battling, was competitive, and those are the kids I think Toronto was just trying to get right now.
It's funny. I think that Finns had the reputation of being so hard to play against, and then over time you play with Swedes. They're the same way, but Finns have always had that edge to them. I remember the same thing. It was Tuomo Ruutu, Mikko Koivu playing against them as 83s. It was like, oh my God, they're
who
all
was
men.
Who was the one you played with in Pittsburgh? Or was he not there yet?
Jarkko Ruutu was in Pittsburgh with me.
Oh, man. He was
after me, but yeah, he was.
He had a fucking edge to him. I bet you a lot of people listening probably hate that fucking guy. He was the guy you hated to play against.
The Finns, personality-wise, they're much wilder than the Swedes. The Swedes are so stoic and just so, they don't get after it. I mean, the Finns that I played with, they were, Yanni Laukkanen was a hysterical kid, and Ville Nieminen would. Curfew was at midnight. He'd walk in every day at 12:01 just so he could yell, "I miss curfew," and stand in the lobby and see if anything happened. Just like the Finns were dramatically different than the Swedes that I played with, anyways.
Tough year in the first round wise, like U.S. players, huh?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just kind of one of those? What was it? Was it 2 kids picked in the first round?
Yeah, I think it was Sanderson and Brisson. Brisson is Patty Brisson's kid. Sanderson is Jake Sanderson is.
Jeff, right?
Jeff Sanderson's kid.
Yes, he's got big ears like me. We talked about this. Monster ears on him.
Yeah. I don't know. I think last year's class, the 2001 class, they were so dynamic and so skilled that they were kids that were going to be first rounders, and just they can do things to be creative that the other kids didn't. I think it's interesting. You talk to the guys who were coaching college this year, and they played against the 02 national team, and they thought that this team was much more difficult to play against because they were physical and they played a much more grinding role. And traditionally those guys aren't the top
high end picks, yeah.
But Sanderson's a stud. I mean, he controls the game. Every game I saw him play, he controlled the tempo, he controlled the pace. He's got great feet. He's a leader. He doesn't skate he's not as fast as his father, but he's equally as smooth.
And then give us just a little breakdown, because Pat Brisson's been a legendary agent in hockey for a long time. Sidney Crosby's agent. His son goes in the first round. What type of player is he? I think he's in the USHL. Is he committed anywhere for school yet?
Yeah, so he's going to Michigan. He started out at Shattuck and then went to USHL. He was playing Chicago. Chicago had a wagon last year in the USHL. They were just running through everybody. And he is a kid that has improved every year since he was at Shattuck as a U14 into his draft year. He's ultra competitive. full of grit, full of grime. He's spunky. He's got skills. He attacks the net. He's not the biggest kid, but he get in there and he jams. He's, I'd say at the beginning of the year, probably thought he was going to be a third rounder. And then as the year went on, you could see that he was going to have the potential to sneak into the first round. He's going to Michigan. Michigan has a hell of a class coming in. It's amazing how many kids they've got. And they're all high-end kids, high-skilled kids that have the potential to have an NHL career. He wasn't picked because of Patty. He was picked because he earned it on his own. And he honestly, his trajectory, how he's improved over the last couple of years has been unbelievable. And he was the real, like I said, that Chicago Steel team in the USHL, they were the best team by quite a bit. They were the deepest, and he was the heartbeat of that team.
The German was supposed to go second. A lot of professionals had him there, but that Quentin Byfield, and we glanced over him earlier, played in Sudbury. I think he's the highest pick in Sudbury Wolves history. Highest black player ever drafted, right? At second overall. Is this kid the real deal? Yeah,
he's big. He's a stud. He skates really well. To me, it'd be somebody like Keith Primo. I don't know if he's going to be a guy who gets 50 goals, but he's going to be a guy who's a reliable two-way guy. He's got good feet. He's got good agility. He's strong. He's going to get stronger. He's an athlete. He was a real difference maker on Sudbury. Without him, that team really struggled with him. They were competitive every game, and he was playing against the other teams, top guys, the draft picks, all that kind of stuff. He's got a chance to be special. There was talk at the beginning of the year that he could maybe go one overall. I thought about it for a little bit, but just when it came down to it, I think it was Lafreniere, no matter what, just because of what he's done in his body of work. But Byfield has a chance in a couple of years to be a kid that is like, holy crap, he's big, he's strong, he makes plays, he's got
like
soft
a Getzlaf type.
Yes.
Are his hands that good though?
I don't know if he's like Getzy. Getzy was to me, honestly, the guy that I think he's like Keith Primo. He's big like that. I think he's bigger than Getzy. I think he has the potential to be stronger than Getzy. But I don't know leadership wise if he's going to be the way Getzy is or not. But he's a chance. He's a big kid. He was a target. He responded well every night. He answered the bell, and he always played well. He's going to have, I don't know what will happen with him this year, but he's going to play. And I would imagine they're going to let him go to the World Juniors, and he's going to put on a show.